Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I'm Daniel Chamberlain, co-host here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
Man, it's another day. Unfortunately, or fortunately, this one is leading up to our first game, so excitement galore. So just another day, but it's in game week, which is nice.
Comes up fast.
Do you miss it yet?
No.
Okay.
No. I haven't had time to. So
right, that works. Hey, real quick, guys, I'll tell you what we got coming up on this episode. We're talking about creating an adaptable offense. I'm sure you read the title, We Can't Move the Ball Consistently. Talk about creating an adaptable offense that helps you do just that by attacking weaknesses with your play calling, developing an offensive playbook that actually works, and elevating your execution on game day. Last week, we talked about we have no team identity, ways that you can create an identity, which works in more ways than one. And next week, we're going to talk about we struggle to get pressure on the quarterback. So we'll be answering that question for you, teaching you how to jazzercise your pressures and really get home on the quarterback. Just real quick, I remind you, this podcast is built for coaches by coaches, and it grows when you share it. So before we dive in, text it to a friend, forward it to your staff, or post it on your favorite coaching group, especially these live videos. If you're watching live, share. We would absolutely love to build up the crew. Remember, you can comment, and we can see it, and we'll post it, and we'll answer it if it's a good question, et cetera, et cetera. Welcome to the live show.
Try to pop the host on the live stream. Yeah.
There we go. Joe, what's your level up this week, man?
Man, we I'm going to date this podcast. It's not too far off, but we had just Labor Day weekend, and Saturday I went out with the boys and did the fantasy draft thing, and we got a new league, but went out and did the draft and had a good time. And Sunday kind of had a relaxing day, but I mean Monday is probably one of the most. We just went to the pool, and we have it's that last day of the year party at the pool. They have a DJ and a big slide and all that sort of stuff. But it was cool to just do nothing. It was a good day of not. We were. Those of you that have a 3-year-old understand this. We were able to stay there for over 5 hours, incident free.
Yeah.
So it was quite a celebration. Just a really good weekend, really good Labor Day, and end to the summer. Kind of. We still, the pool is still open for a couple more weeks, but we've had fantastic weather. In fact, it was almost too cold.
It's not a thing, Joe.
One of those. Well, it's one of those the children's pool, the kid pool, was freezing. It's not heated because they usually heat it themselves, but it was too cold for them to get in there and heat it themselves. So
that does create a little bit of a conundrum when you're.
That was rough. So we got him to go into the big pool, which is heated, and that was great until you get out. And you got a time getting out, because when the sun was out and the wind wasn't blowing, it was amazing.
Yeah.
If you timed your get out of the water with the wind blowing and the sun going behind the clouds, you're finding a towel quick.
Yeah.
But great day, had a great time, and now we came home, watched the real opening weekend of football, and actually had some, the Carson Beck Fest Sunday night, and then
wild.
Then the boat race of UNC on Monday, but it was a great weekend of football, great weekend. So yeah.
Who would have thought after week 1 of college football, Alabama and North Carolina would be calling for their head coaches' heads?
The Belichick stuff is pretty over. They act like North Carolina was a national title contender before.
Right.
But Alabama is interesting. I've got a friend that I saw on Monday, and I just walked up and he was with his family, and I was like, "How you doing?" He's like, "I'm looking up his buyout." And of course his buyout is outrageous, like
60 or 70
million.
Yeah.
Like, this man is, if he's trying to get fired, he's playing chess, not checkers. Like, get that job and then like go retire. I know he's not. I know that nobody is that. Nobody would get this far being that way. I always think it's ridiculous when people think that guys want to buy out, or when athletes are like, athletes start like high level athletes don't care. And I'm like, he maybe doesn't care as much as Michael Jordan. Like when they talk about athletes, not talking about DeBoer, talking about, they'll talk about an NBA athlete and like, he doesn't care. It's like, he maybe doesn't care as much as Michael Jordan, but I'm going to tell you, he cares probably more than you've ever cared about anything other than maybe your kids.
Right.
Like, I promise you, he's working harder at work than you are. 100%. Yeah. It's like, that's how he got there. So I always think it's ridiculous when I talk about that kind of stuff. But wow.
It goes back to that, like, don't follow a legend, right? I mean, Belichick, being a legend himself, follows Mac Brown, who did a hell of a job there. In fact, when he left Texas, they went through like 4 coaches just trying to replace him. Right now, Saban retires, and you're the first dude. Like, don't follow a legend.
It's such a wild thing now, too, and you saw kind of 2 different. I don't know what the numbers were in Miami, but I know that UNC was 3rd most with like 70 from the transfer portal. So you are literally piecing together, and I'm sure he got great transfers, but you're piecing together from scratch. I mean, it's almost like an expansion team when you do that. And one of the things that they said on the broadcast was they asked him about it, and like Miami was kind of a weird situation. In Miami, I don't know the numbers. It just felt like everybody other than that one. I think it was the freshman receiver that was so good, but like so everybody was like, well, he came here from Liberty. Must have lost everybody in the last couple of years, but they were Liberty 2 years ago, and then Rice, and then here they are, and it's like everybody's on like their 3rd school at Miami. It felt like, but then they're talking about 70 guys from UNC, and it's like you're literally taking over and you're building or taking over. You got to build an expansion team, and you think about the success of expansion teams in every sport other than hockey. It's not good. So that's just something to consider.
Yeah.
And Belichick, I think they had asked Belichick, and Belichick said, look, this was year 1. The strategy from here is high school seniors, supplemented by, but year 1, it was let's fast track it kind of thing.
For sure.
So, well, who knows what it'll
do. My level up is a little. It could easily be Labor Day or Labor Day. Yes, we had a whole talk this weekend. I don't remember which is Labor and which is Memorial. Memorial's in May because they both have M's. I learned that now. That's how I'm going to remember it forever.
This is one you don't have to put, like flags on all the mailboxes for.
There you go. Our Labor Day was a really good one, but much like you, lots of family time and hanging out with friends. It was great to kind of do nothing. But the real one, I think I kind of spoke on it last week about I'm going to get into a new business. We're going to start doing a food truck, which combines my love of cooking with making some actual money, which is going to be fantastic. But I have spent this week doing all the behind the scenes. So getting an EIN, getting an LLC set up, drafting menus, and I stopped and talked to butchers today to get like meat prices. And that's the stuff that's so fun to me. Like it really is that you got to do all the puzzle pieces and get it all together. And I just love that part. To some people that's work, and like that. No, that's the fun part. And I'm hoping that in the majority of this business, there isn't a lot of real work. It's just it's kind of I like to cook. I like to see people smiling when I serve them food. I hate cleaning. So that will be, I guess, the work part. I have to clean from time to time, but, yeah, man, just lots of fun stuff. So that was my level up this week, is just getting a new business off the ground. We actually start, loading the trailer tomorrow, get it all filled out. And then Friday we hit the mean streets, whipping up some fresh food. So if you're in Central Oklahoma, look me up on the Facebooks, because I'll be sharing our location. You can come by and grab some grub and talk some ball. Yeah, so it'll be fun. Let's jump in here. Let's pay the bills real quick, Joe, and then we'll get started.
Oh man, the paying the bills.
I'll go first. How about that? We all know that speed wins games. The real question is, are you fast enough? Speed changes everything. It turns average plays into touchdowns, good players into game breakers. But here's the truth. Real speed isn't just natural, it's trained. At Athletic Speed and Movement, we show athletes how to get faster, quicker, and more explosive using proven methods that translate directly to the field. Our system was built by Del Basquet, who's done it at the highest levels, being the very first speed coach in the NFL. And it works for athletes at every level on the way down. So whether you're a coach looking to elevate your team or a parent wanting to give your athlete an edge, this is where speed starts. Go to athleticspeedmovement.com and learn how to build real speed that shows up on game day. Don't just play the game, outrun it.
Man, good stuff. This was lost. Is your football team stuck in a losing tradition you can't seem to break? You put in hours of hard work, you do all the right things. You've tried changing the scheme and you've tried to change the culture, but nothing seems to work. You can't break the losing cycle. When the going gets tough, when adversity strikes, the heads drop, and it's the same old, here we go again feeling. It is time to break out. My latest coaching manual called Breaking the Losing Cycle reveals how underdog teams are turning their seasons around without needing more talent or a bigger roster. Find out why teams stay stuck in the losing cycle, the secret ingredients to break out, and the quick fix solutions you can use right now to break the losing cycle for good. You can download the free manual right now at joedanielfootball.com/breaking, BREAKING, to break the cycle and put an end to your losing tradition now. Along those lines, by the way, we had one of our JDFB coaches, and I don't have his, I don't have it pulled up right now, and I don't want to mispronounce his name. I know it, but I might get 2 letters out of order. So I'm going to hold off. But first game as a head coach broke I believe, 26-game losing streak going back a couple of years. So first game as a head coach, took over and broke a 26-game losing streak. Breaking out a losing cycle, man. That's what it is.
I love it. I always love those success stories.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's jump in here, man. So tonight we're talking about creating an adaptable offense, which, of course, you know I love the word adaptable. We named our physical therapy clinic Adaptable because that's how much we believe in the word. So I can speak pretty heavily on all this tonight. Kind of first, we're going to talk about attacking weaknesses with your offensive play calling. I know that we have spoke on this on previous podcasts because it's one of the core values of like running a successful offense, right? You can't just go out and run plays. There needs to be a purpose. Why did you call that play? What did you see that made you think that one would work? So how do we do that, Joe? How do we attack weaknesses with our offensive play calling?
I think it's really the first thing is that in order to move the ball consistently, you have to give yourself an advantage. One way that you give yourself an advantage is to execute better than anybody else. Another way that you give yourself an advantage is to put in the time in the weight room and in your speed training and to develop your players as well or better than anyone else. But the other way that you can do it, and the one that can actually impact, in-game situation, like if you're listening to this, as we record on Wednesday and you're listening, live and you want to have an impact on Friday or Saturday calling the game, or if you're listening to this as it comes out on Thursday afternoon or even Friday morning going into work on game day, how can you have an impact right now? Because your execution is probably not going to improve. You're certainly not going to get stronger or faster in the next, 12 to 24, 48 hours. What can you do? It is to put yourself in the best advantageous position. And what that means is playing the game of, and you want to talk about the chess match. And I think a lot of guys like the idea of, football's a chess match and we're doing this and we're doing that, but you don't know how the game is played. You don't know the rules of the game. You think you're playing the game, but you're really not. A lot of guys are calling, on the defensive side, a lot of guys are calling blitzes at random times, and they're like playing the chess match. It's like, now you're calling blitzes at random times, hoping they work out. You're kind of going on the chess is not a game played by gut instinct. I don't know that much about chess, but Chris Lawyer, who wrote JDFB Weight Room, who does our weightlifting programming, he's my weightlifting coach, is big into chess. And every once in a while, he'll talk to me about chess and how it relates to things. And I can tell you that chess is not like it is a lot of everything is like moves, right? They're almost like play sets, right? So you're calling random blitzes. You're not playing chess. You're playing checkers. You're calling random plays and seeing if they hit. You're playing checkers. When you're attacking weaknesses, that's the chess match. When you are thinking numbers, when you are thinking in terms of creating an edge, creating leverage, taking a flank. You're talking about the chess match. When you are attacking bubbles, when you are attacking the weaknesses of a defense, based on what they're doing right now, you are playing that chess match. We've talked before about how I love it's not as easy as Rick makes it sound, but Rick Stewart talks about and he talks about it inside our offensive play caller system, which is going to be coming out of the JDFB store for the rest of the year very soon, as some other things already have. There's an interview with Rick in there, and he talks about the thought process of his play calling, and that he has somebody who's responsible for telling him the number of the tackler on the play, and he memorizes the defense. And of course, you got to get there and look at, is there anything that's changed? He memorizes the defense, and he immediately goes, okay, when you tell him who made the tackle, he goes, all right, that means that let's say the backside linebacker makes the tackle, he's thinking, okay, he's reacting to something that we're doing in this series, and it's wing T based, pistol wing T. So the counter, because he's overreacting to what we're doing. If the backside linebacker is making the play, he's overreacting to what we're doing, which is opening up the counter. So what he's thinking is not even so much of, I have created a weakness with a formation, or I've created a weakness. He's almost thinking, even though we break play calling into three levels of predictive, which is based on what they did before, and then pre-snap and post-snap. He's doing predictive play calling, but what he's really thinking is, if I give this same look again, I'm going to get a post-snap look of numbers advantage over here. So when you are doing this, I'll just give the really, really basic offensive playbook layout that we do. We always talk about there's an inside run, an off tackle run, an outside run, and a counter, and then a play action. If you put those 5 things together, you have a hell of a playbook, if you have them right and you know how to use them. And we pick one of those things and we get great at it. And it literally can be any one of those things. It's normally one of your run plays, but it could even be that you are just phenomenal at your play action, and you run your play action until everybody gets out of the box. And then, all of a sudden now it's just easy, right? Defensive linemen are pinning their ears back, trying to pass rush. Now you can down block, kick out the crap out of them. Now the force players are so far out there defending the flats, they never come up. The linebackers are playing like DBs. Like, you could do that. But the point is, you are going to get great at one of those things, and you're going to get so good at that if they defend it, most teams, obviously we know that if there's a team just filled with studs, that the numbers game changes even more. But if I get so great at one of those plays, and we always talk about power as the play that we get great at, if I get so great at power, my off tackle run play, they have to adjust. Well, if the overhang safety, outside linebacker comes in to stop the power, toss is open now because the force defender is not in a position to force. If the backside linebacker is making the tackle on power, counter is open. If the corner is, for some unknown reason, getting involved, then the play action is open now, right? The deep shot play action. If they decide, because the power and the counter are hitting off tackle, front side and backside, that we're going to widen the tackles out and we're going to give you double free techniques, or we're going to loosen up the linebackers, the numbers advantage now is in the middle. And all of those work because if I run power, just the ways that they stop it, if they run a base defense, we can run power against it. If they add numbers to the C gap area, the off tackle area, that with the strong safety, overhang safety, that opens up the toss. I have a numbers advantage to the perimeter. And I have a leverage advantage. If they add numbers by sliding a linebacker or moving a linebacker or blitzing a backside linebacker, if they add numbers that way, it opens up the counter. If they add numbers by sliding tackles out or linebackers out to the C gap area, it opens up the numbers in the middle. And now I have, 3-on-2 or 3-on-3 hats or hats, and I add a run back. So what we're trying to do is strengthen your play calling by giving you the advantage on every single play, giving you the numbers advantage. And so that's how you can move the ball consistently. If you are always, and it's not just that play calling is one way, formations also give you that opportunity. Shifts give that opportunity. Unbalanced motions all will give you that opportunity. But the key is you are always calling plays that you expect to be in an advantage. And that's what you're gunning for.
The numbers, leverage, space, right? Those key things we're looking for. I think when we're talking about attacking a weakness, defenses have gotten really, really good at taking a lot of that away on any given play, right? So it's fairly hard to come out in your base formation and they haven't schemed you up to take those things away. Like you said, Joe, if I can just be successful because I'm just got the dudes to run a base play out of my base formation and I don't really have those advantages, but I'm still good at it. Now they have to over adjust. That's a way to create them. But I want to talk about so game film analysis. If you're not a JoeDanielFootball.com premium insider, you should jump over there and check that out. The game film analysis alone is worth the monies because you send in your film, we're going to go through it and look at how you could have got better, what you could have done, especially you guys that, well, let's just be honest. If you're going to a website for someone that sells football, you probably need help and can at least have recognized that you need help, right? Learning how to coach it better. It's almost always numbers. Like I watch through film, I watch the other people's film, and it's like, hey, we can't run. But honestly, we've been doing defense lately. This year has been a lot of defensive stuff I've seen, and it's like we can't stop power, we can't stop counter, we can't stop this, and they're getting ran through. And you go back and look, and it's like you don't have enough numbers over there, right? You're very balanced. Congratulations, you've got what we would call 5.5 hats to each side of the ball. Because a lot of people are trying this 3-4 type front, even the 4-2-5, looking like a cover 3 look. You're very balanced, but they're not balanced, right? They're unbalanced, whether that's receivers, whether that's tight ends, an extra surface, 2 backs, full backs. There's all sorts of ways they're adding numbers to the front side of a play or whatever. And that's what we're talking about, right? If you can create that because someone wants to stay super balanced, or even better, if you can create it with your tags, with your adjustments, right? And I love living in an offense that carries so many tags that we can change that stuff up. Because if you come out in 2x2 all the time, that's a balanced offense. You know what I mean? And people are going to find ways to be balanced to it. If I can take a balanced defense and I can get unbalanced, I can throw extra people one way or the other. All of these weaknesses open up. Generally, it's leverage, numbers, space. You're going to look at matchups that give you an advantage. Like I don't live in a world where we have matchup advantages. We're all pretty balanced, just trying to, you got to line up and knock each other's teeth out every week. So that's what we have to do, right? We do a lot of motion shifts, changes, various backfields, and then we've just simplified it all down so the kids can learn it easily. But I believe that is how you are going to start creating that adaptable offense. I've got to be able to run my base plays out of 1,000 looks so that you can't get comfortable and run, either make adjustments to stop it, or even your base stuff. Kids are trying to figure out, how do I run my base stuff versus this wild look I'm getting, right? And that might be tackle over, it might be too tight, might whatever. We have learned a lot, Joe, that a lot of DCs cannot align to too tight. Like it is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And it comes from that everyone wants to be in this base look, very, very balanced. A lot of times it's the 3-4, and how do they answer gaps? And they struggle. So if you're sucking it up on offense right now, maybe just go into ace, too tight, two, whatever you call it, 12 personnel, if you will. It seems to do the trick. But anyway, I think it's a question you have to ask every week is, how can I create those weaknesses I'm looking for? How can I get numbers on them? Do they move to motion? Does a shift throw them off? Do 2 shifts throw them off? We already talked about, if you're a gap scheme team, you are moving a hat already. Can I add an extra hat in that pulling game? So lots of good ways there to attack the weaknesses, even if you have to go out and create them. They may be very well coached and disciplined in their base stuff. Can I get them out of that? Perfect segue, which happens very rarely on the podcast. Perfect segue into part 2. We're going to talk about developing an offensive playbook that works, because we're talking about creating these weaknesses, talking about running to the weakness, talking about your base plays. You can't just throw plays at the wall and see which ones stick, right? You need to have that system. So how do we go about building out that offensive playbook or that system so that it truly works, that we can complement each play off of another one?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with you and I both like to have a very versatile and flexible offense where we can get into basically any personnel grouping, where we can create anything, where we can do it with shifts and with motions, with tags. But before you do anything else, you need to look at your playbook and make sure that it works on a basic general, like, forget formations, forget all of that. Go back to what I said in the last segment. Inside run, off tackle run, outside run, counter, play action. If you don't have that, and I don't care what level you coach, that's where we start with the 8-year-olds. That's where we start with the 10-year-olds. That's what our middle school programs are winning a ton of football games doing. Inside run, outside run, off tackle run, and a counter, and then a play action. So you have to have that in place first. Then you have to be able to separate formation from play. And so, as we've talked about before, and it's something that, again, in our offensive play caller system, Kenny talks about it in an interview we did with Kenny. Same kind of thing. Neither one of, when we look at a script, we may not get past the second play of the script, because the script isn't about, I want to run power and then I want to run counter. Because again, I don't want to run power and then counter. I want to run power. If you can't stop power, screw it. I'm going to run power. Like, if that's my base play. If my base play is inside zone, I'm going to run inside zone. If it's outside zone, I'm going to run outside. I'm going to run the base. I'm going to run the best thing I've got until you stop it. But I'm going to find a formation that gives me an advantage. And if I can find a formation, if I can find a shift, if I can find a motion that moves you. We talked about this on our Talk last night, which was great because it didn't record. So you've never, even if you're a member, you've heard it, but depending on how long you've been a member. But the shifts and the motion, there was a question about how can I use shifts and motions to create confusion, create misdirection. That's not the point. Because any good team, and I think it's really important to point out that you might create, it's like the 3-3 stack coaches years ago. 3-3 stack coaches always talked about, we're blitzing guys all over the place. We're going to confuse your offensive line. You will, if they're not very well coached, if they're not very good, if they're not very smart. Otherwise, a stack is a stack, and it's stack. Like, we're fine. You're not creating confusion. That's not the point of the 3-3 stack. If your whole point of your 3-3 stack blitzing is to create confusion, that's going to be great until you run into good teams. Well, it's the same thing with your shifts and your motions and your offense. It's not to create confusion. If they're good, they will, if they're well coached, they will see you motion, they will see you shift, and they will check and they will adjust. And so I expect you to check and adjust. Now, I may create a numbers advantage. Like, I may do a tight end trade, and we've talked about so many times. So few teams actually use a tight end trade. It's one of the simplest shifts that you can do, but so few teams do it. We're calling strengths, many of us, based on the tight end. We're lining up based on the tight end. The tight end gets up, moves over, and everybody goes, huh. Well, it's kind of like what you talked about with double tights. Yeah. Because what happens is the weak side never sees a tight end, and they go, oh. And so, your 5 technique defensive end, if it's in a 40 front, he stays there. Or what I like is the 5 technique defensive end sees the tight end, comes over, and he goes, well, I'm supposed to be outside of the outside guy. Like,
be a 9, baby.
I'm a 9. So he's like, I'm always outside of the end guy. So now I got a 1 and a 9. Let's go. So that happens, but it's not like creating misdirection, confusion and stuff. It's just like they've never done it. But what I really expect to see is like our adjustment, which is a heavy check, and we just slide from a 1 and a 5 to a 2I and a 9 and 2I to 6I or 7 technique inside shade, just so we don't get down blocked. It's not a big deal. But if they're always in a 1 and a 5 in your 40 front, and now they're in a 2I and a 6I, they're not misaligned. It's not bad. It's just not what they always do. It's fundamentally sound. It's the right thing. It's the right adjustment. If I motion over to trips and your adjustment to trips is to slide your linebackers, perfectly fine adjustment. There's nothing wrong with it, especially if I have a tendency to go towards the trip side. If I like to run RPOs to the trip side and you slide your linebacker so that puts a little cloud in the window for me to throw a little stick RPO to number 3, right? perfectly good adjustment. But what I want out of that is, again, just to create a little advantage. So I look at all of these things. Can I create an advantage with my offense that works? Can I create an advantage with my offense that works? And then can I create an advantage by doing these little things with shifts and motions that get you to move? Now, you're not confused. You're not confused, but I naturally have an advantage if, instead of letting you take a Mike linebacker in a 4-2 or 4-4, if he's always standing there in a 30 tech outside shade of the guard, 5 yards off the ball, if he's always standing there and key reading that, and he works that drill all day long, that's what ours do. That's what I would do with my linebackers.
For sure.
But if now I make him slide his feet, move his alignment. So again, ask a alignment, stance, key read assignment, right? So what are we hammering? We're hammering his alignment. We're hammering his stance. We're hammering his key read. Now think of all that I've just broken for him. He had to change his alignment. He had to get up out of his stance to move to do that. He had to move his eyes because he had to watch whatever the motion of the shifter was and then get his eyes back to where they're supposed to be. They're now not in the place that they always were. Yep. I've just created a little advantage. And if he doesn't move, I've created a numbers advantage or a leverage advantage. So he's in a no-win situation. And when I do that motion, every time I run a motion in the script, I've got a motion in the script, and we motion, or we shift to an unbalanced or something like that. Like my favorite is to shift to a single wing. We line up in just a regular old balanced 2x2 formation, not 2x2 like 10 personnel, but like usually a tight end on one side and a wing back on the other side. 2 split out receivers, and we shift everybody into an unbalanced single wing. And when we do that, if I'm on the headset, I'm either going, okay, no motion, run it, or even if they or we got all kinds of movement, run it, or we got a good adjustment. We're still going to run it, by the way, the first time. We're still going to run it because it might still hit. We got a good adjustment. So we got some movement, but not a lot. And it looked like the right movement. They matched the numbers. They didn't lose force. They didn't lose, they made a good adjustment. What did that open up for us? Sometimes they make a great adjustment, the perfect adjustment. And I go, all right, next thing on the script after this, next formation, next thing. And the really good teams have that planned. But that's what we're looking for out of all of that to give you an advantage is to develop a playbook. And the key is to develop a playbook that inside run, outside run, off tackle run, that you can do all of that and then dress it up with all of this stuff that creates that extra little advantage. So I go, what I said before, off tackle, run, they side over, counters open, they come in, tosses open. But then I create even more of an advantage with shifts, motions, all this kind of stuff. And so like, it's just adding pieces. They all stack as long as your players can handle it. If you do one that your players can't handle, that they don't understand, they don't know what we were doing with that, now, we're starting to fight back against ourselves.
Yep. I think it's pretty important to talk, you're talking about these inside run play, outside run play, all that. It's big time to not carry a bunch of plays that duplicate. So when we're talking about creating a system that works, carry a inside run play. Yeah, you can run inside zone if you have a back that can read and make cuts. You can run trap if you've got guard with good feet that can hit a guy and just a bruiser to get downhill. I'm a huge fan of duo right now. I think it's better than inside zone. It's just less counting. Just go over there or go over there. It's pretty simple.
Way to be wrong.
Pick one of those and make that your base play. And then exactly what you just said, Joe. Do all the other stuff to get kids' eyes. Look, if you're going to run trap because that's your A-gap play, run the heck out of it. And then send somebody in motion, in an orbit motion behind the quarterback and see if that Mike backer picks his eyes up just long enough that he isn't reading guard pull. Now he can't follow as well. And now he's getting picked up by a down blocking front side guard, center. Maybe they're comboing off of a nose, whatever it is. I just need him to be a half a second late, right? Shift first, right? Shift backside away from him. take a tight end and put him from strong side to weak side and then run trap strong, right? It's just, can I do anything to adjust that? He said, adjust that kid's, get him out of running his everyday drill. Because although we don't like them, we know that most coaches still run everyday drills, and they're going to run. He pulls, I follow. He doesn't, I feel, every day. Well, that's all that backer's doing, unless you can get him to have to count, adjust number. It's almost like you think about stemming defensive ends or defensive line against an offense, right? When they're trying to count, and now, oh my God, the count's wrong, and we got to start over, but there's not time. We ran down the play clock. It's the same thing. The play clock now is the snap. And he doesn't have time to communicate and readjust. So if we can just make him for a second slow down, your A-gap play is going to hit that much more frequently. And it's our favorite thing is to like make a kid second guess everything he's ever been taught. Once what I've been repping all week doesn't work, he goes into like self-preservation mode. He's going to do whatever he wants to do, whatever feels natural. Now, look, if you've got a dude back there, maybe I messed up by getting him in do what he wants mode, because now he's just going to wreck shop, right? Some kids just have it, and maybe you've actually been holding them back. But for most of us, that's not the case. I think really you need to find a way to install unbalanced and split type offenses and split type formations. So I always think of like, we talk about split field defensive coverage, right? We can run cover 3 over here and cover 2 over here, cover 4 and cover 2, whatever. Okay. I think of it the same way. Kenny, he runs his tight end wing with twins away. He makes you pick, am I going to defend this heavy loaded side where they've got a 2-man or a 4-man surface, if that's what you want to call it, or am I going to go cover that pass? And you can't do both really well. You can't plus up one side or the other without making a weakness. Try stuff like that. The tight end or the trips nub stuff. I love that. That's probably my favorite formation in football on the offense, because it just gives people fits. Once again, it's the same thing Kenny's trying to do, but now there's another kid to defend over there. What are you going to do? Are you going to run your regular, we just rolled a cover 3 for trips? Is that what you're going to run? Because now I have a meathead into the boundary, and you've left a corner to play force backside because you're rolling all your safeties over the top of this cover 3 thing. So it's a really good way to get people to second guess their base play or have to install something ridiculous. We've already talked about the ace. Tight end wing trips. If you can get a tight end wing and a split out wide receiver to the same side, now you really screw kids up, because he's like, hey, coach said when there's a tight end wing, I come down and play a outside of a 9, an 11, and then I'm supposed to fit the gap between the tight end and the wing, right? That's how we stay gap sound. Awesome. Well, now I'm running an arrow and a corner route. It's just like, you're just going to make those kids miserably wrong all night long, because you're throwing this stuff that doesn't allow them to be balanced and run their everyday drills. I think that's big. And really getting into the meat potatoes of the how-to do this, because that's the hard part. Coach, how do I add all this to my playbook without confusing kids? Because everything looks good on a whiteboard because we ensure it, right? We'll change the defense sometimes if it doesn't work really well against 4-2. Put a 3-4 up there. I bet it'll look good. You've got to put these things into families and groups and containers if you want to use the Joe Daniel method, right? My tight end can't learn all that crap. He's got to learn a few things and then base plays. Same thing with your slot receivers. Your quarterback's the one guy on the field that kind of has to know it all. And if he's just an athlete and doesn't have the brains for it, he really don't have to know it all. Just lighten the box with him with all the other stuff, right? Get people guessing and second guessing and making bad reads to let him do his thing. He doesn't have to know all the formations. He needs to know, like, maybe you're a read one defender pass offense. You can change it up and simplify it back down for him that way. But if you'll carry it in families, run tight end things. I treat it like defensive line. You'd run a stunt, right? Well, defensive end and defensive tackles are stunting together on Tex and on Nat and on whatever else. Do the same thing with these formations. Switch these things up, these shifts especially. Start doing shifts. You start doing motions. Keep it in families and groups so that it's very simple for the kids. Whether that's maybe you have run shifts and pass shifts because you don't want to confuse them on what route do I run, coach? I'm running across the field like a crazy man. I don't know what route I become. Cool. Well, now we've answered that, because anytime you do this, you do that. You simplify that back out. All right, Joe, let's jump to the last part here, man. Elevating your execution on game day. Obviously, even that last piece I just talked about kind of helps that. right? You've got to keep things pristine. You got to keep it crisp. You can't confuse kids. You kind of even already segued there, that last part, talking once you'll see that you hit too far, right? Your kids can't handle it. You got to pull back. So not even really leaving out those, you may expound on those two a little bit, but how are some other ways we can elevate our execution on game day for these offenses that just aren't clicking right now?
Don't leave them out of all of this. I think that one of the things that makes kids play better, and I mean, the thing that makes kids play better is confidence. And we talk about the bandwidth of confidence in the Coach Simple philosophy. Coach Simple philosophy, keep it simple so they understand what to do, so they know what they're doing, so they can play fast, faster players, win more games, et cetera. Confused kids play slow, soft, sloppy, and scared. But with the bandwidth of confidence that we're talking about, it's like everybody's kind of there's a bandwidth of what I understand, what I know how to do. And as long as I'm in that, if you try to raise that bandwidth too fast, I fall out of it. Right now I'm down here. We're doing something up here. I don't get it. I'm lost. I'm at the bottom. I'm confused. But what we want our kids to be eventually bouncing up the top of it, bouncing up against the top of that bandwidth. Like, I'm ready to do more. I'm ready to do more. And it's like, okay, we can do a little more. But that's all great. That's all in your preparation. That's all in your what you're putting together every day in practice. And they've gotten great at running power, or they've gotten great at running zone, or they've gotten great at running whatever play that you want. But all the things that we've talked about, coaches will put all of this together and then go out there and say, do it because I said so. And they just run the play. Don't leave them out of all this, because you ultimately, the best way that you are going to win football games is to get them. We talked about all the time, the three things that you have to do as a football coach. Number one, teach them the skills and techniques and everything that they need to know about football. And number two, have fun, get them to have fun playing the game. And number three, win games. And the way that you create player buy-in is they understand what they're being asked to do. They know it's making them a better football player. They believe it's making them a better football player. And before you ever win a game, you're creating buy-in, because they're like, oh my God, this guy is teaching me how to be a better football player. We always talk about our first week at college, right? Like, so many coaches, so many players have had this experience where you go through in high school and you play for a guy who's a good dude, but he's kind of coaching like he's got a full-time job. It's not his fault. He's got a full-time job. He's, maybe you played for a guy who just, was the PE teacher and the football coach, and like he was kind of doing what it was always done. And you go and you play college football for a week with somebody who this is their job. This is all that they do. And they're teaching you things that you've never heard before. And it all starts to make sense. And you're like, I'm a better football player a week into my college football career than I was for 4 years. And like, all of a sudden I understand the world of football. It's not that my high school coaches were bad. It's that these guys just, like, I have more time. They're teaching me more, or I'm opened up to it, whatever it is. It always happens. But all of a sudden I'm like, I could go back to high school and just dominate right now. And the truth is, you're a week into your freshman year of college, you're not a significantly better player than you were the last game of your senior year, but you feel like it. And you probably could go back, and you probably would go back and dominate. When you create this game plan and you put together this playbook and you put together inside run, outside run, off tackle run, counter, play action, and you put together spacing rules, and you have your route concepts. They have the same, by the way, route concepts have the same thing. I'm going to try to create numbers advantage. I want to get 3/3, 3/2, whatever. What I don't want to run, I don't want to throw it to 4/3. If I'm throwing to 4/3, that means I probably got one-on-one backside. So what do I have back there? When you put together your route concepts, so I want a horizontal stretch of a 4 under. Okay, I want to run cover 3 beaters. I want a vertical stretch, a 2 beater. I want to, all these things. I want to run meshes against man, whatever it is that you do in your passing concepts and your run concepts. I think, and then you let them in on that. You let your quarterback know this is what's supposed to happen. This is what we want to see. This is what we're looking for. When you do that, then you go and you look at your run game and your formations and your motions, and you put all of those onto the call sheet. Don't do it at random on Thursday night. All week, you're talking to the guys This is what we hope we'll see. This is what we want to see. This is what we might see. If we see this, we got them. If we see guys moving all over the place, we got them. If we see 3 guys over here, we got them. Like, I don't just want the quarterback to know that if I run trips and we have a 3-man surface backside, it's an automatic check to outside zone weak. I don't want the quarterback to be the only one that knows that. Like, I want to have a check call that everybody knows, holy crap, we got 3 guys weak. And so everybody goes, we got a hat for a hat, and a running back just got to, he didn't even have to make anybody miss. He's just off to the races because we got the numbers that we wanted. Yeah. If they're in on it, and they don't look, they're not all going to get it all. None of them will probably get it all. You should have some, extra level as a coach, but they're in on the scheme. They're in on the job, and you go, we got exactly what we wanted. I tell the story about, in on our defensive stuff. And I actually, funniest thing was this weekend, I talked about, we went out for our fantasy draft. I ran into one of the kids that we didn't coach him, but he was at the school at the time. And he's friends with a bunch of the kids that I coached. This is years ago. They're now, by the way, they're all now out at bars and stuff. So this is years ago. And he's like, hey, coach, I got such and such up on FaceTime. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I've been telling a story about you. And the story was, we had installed the umbrella run fits, 4-2-5 defense. We go out. First time this was our second season using the umbrella run fits in the 4-2-5. And in the first game of the second season, we are facing for the first time a true triple option, a pistol flex bone triple option. And we work on it in practice, and I'm like, who's got the dive? And they're like, I got it. And like, they just get it, right? Because they understand the run fit. They understand the umbrella. Right. And we go out there the first game of the season, and we see this pistol. So now we see it live. And they go down the field, and they get 5 yards, 7 yards. They go down the field, and they score on the first drive. And so I've got my Mike, my Will linebacker over there. Neither one of them played on offense. They're goons, right? They're only 180. They're 5'8", 185 pounds, but they're just God made them to be little linebackers. It's just unfortunate that everybody else is bigger. And so I got them over there. Like, they don't do other things. Like, could they play guard? Sure, but like, they don't want to. It's just too much, thinking and stuff. They're not into that. They're like, these are linebacker guys. And I'm like, guys, what happened out there? And the kid that I just talked to this weekend, he goes, he's always like excited and stuff. He's a great kid. And he goes, Coach, it's exactly what you showed us. And I'm like, he's like, exactly what we worked on practice. Everything like is exactly. And I'm like, awesome. What happened? Coach, we didn't believe you, but we see it now. And I'm just like, do we need it? No, Coach, we got it now. Okay. We shut them out. We win the rest of the game. We win 14-7. Okay. That's confidence, right? That's not like all this. This is a team that drove down the field. Like, you look at that North Carolina TCU game. North Carolina freaking owned them. And then TCU defense wakes up and goes, oh, no. We got this.
We saw that. We saw that in practice.
Okay. Now we understand it. We got it. Now we're like, we were on our heels, but now we got it. Right. That's the difference confidence makes. Did they become significantly better football players? No. Did they get stronger? Did they get faster? Did the game plan even change? No. What changed? They saw it. They adjusted in their minds. We didn't change the game plan. Their minds adjusted, and they said, we got this. That is what happens on game day when they go out there. And we will all the time, I'll get the offensive lineman over there on the sideline. What did we see? We went out there, we went 3 and out, or we didn't move the ball. We got 1 first down. And then what did we see? Coach, we got it. They did a little bit of something we weren't ready for, but we got it now. We see it. Maybe this guy moved over here. We got it now. And hey, Coach, when we shifted the line, and they'll start telling you, Coach, when we motioned the H-back over, I saw the linebacker slide over 1 step. He sees it. He's moving, Coach. Counter's going to be there. Hey, counter's going to be there. So what happens now? I say, counter's going to be there, but we're not done setting it up. So 3 plays, 4 play. We run power a couple more times, and they're ready for it. Power's getting 3, 4 backside line. We call counter, Is counter the superior play of all things because the linebacker was stepping 1 step, 2 steps?
It is, but
yes, but
I don't know if that's the reason why.
But when the ball is snapped, we've got a little advantage. We've got a little advantage because they are moving with the H-back motion. But everybody's been dying to call counter because we know what coach wanted to see. We know they're doing that. We know it's open, and your execution all of a sudden goes 10x on game day because they are like, we got this. Quarterback knows, hey, that corner, we're going to hit a fade on him one time. We're gonna throw the fade one time. We're gonna run by him. We're gonna throw the fade one time. Doesn't have to be there. If it's there, we catch it. If not, but leave it high outside. Nobody else catches it. When we do that, I've watched it on film for 3 weeks, and as soon as somebody gets behind him, he backs up to 9 yards deep, backpedaling. We're throwing a hitch. We're gonna beat him one-on-one. Like everybody in the world is like the linemen don't care, but the quarterback and the receiver out there are like, it's there. Again, we know just as a whole, as a head coach, I used to love to watch the game and say, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen. And if you were wrong, you were wrong. But like it would just, a lot of times it's because we were the better team. It was like, you're going to get their best shot. They're going to come out and that first drive is going to be brutal. Okay. And then weather the storm. And then we're going to take over in the second quarter. And you get to the end of the first quarter and it's 3-0 or 0-0 or 7-7. And they're like, all right, here we are. And all of a sudden everything picks up in the second quarter because they're like, okay, everything's going the way it's supposed to. Second quarter now, they're not as good as we weathered the storm and they're going to lay down. Did they lay down? No, dude. They were like, oh my God, it's 7-7. We're here. But we walked out there in the first series of the second quarter thinking they laid down. Let's go. Let's go, step on their throats.
For sure.
And that's how you elevate the execution.
One of my favorite stories out of all my career, so a whopping 6 years of football, is a quarterback who could see that. And he sometimes did things his own way. Sure. And so as I tell this story as a pro, it's also kind of a con on us as a coaching staff because he was hard to control. But I can still remember him waving off the play call. Coach is trying to call us, and he's like, nope, I got this. Because he had already seen whatever it was he needed to see. And he knew the playbook well enough. I know the call. I know how to get to that weakness, whether that's what you said, Joe. Maybe he's watching, maybe he's faking a boot out and no one's chased him a couple plays in a row. Or maybe he's watching a backside backer way overplay it, or there's no force when we use motion. Maybe we've seen it too, but he saw it. And that's what makes it so much better is when that dude can go, nope, coach, I got this, calls a play and goes for 8, 10, 15 yards because he hit exactly where, and no one has a better view of the game than that kid. You know what I mean? He's the one, he's reading everything. So he can see the pre-snap stuff from his point of view. It's great having those kids.
Yeah. I'll never forget. Just one more. I will never forget having the receiver. We got an alignment. We got a 5-yard off alignment. No man's land. We talk about it all the time. Almost never get it. We got a no man's land alignment.
Yep.
And the receiver and the quarterback, we had a hitch call. We know that 5. So a lot of kids won't check that because it's not press, right? The rule is press. But these two guys are experienced players. They understand that we've talked about no man's land. We almost never get it. We talked about no man's land. And both of them, they don't even look at each other. They turn and look at me on the sidelines and smile. And you're like, all right, there we go. And that's exactly what happened. Fade, boom, touchdown. And it's like, that's, yeah, they were good players. Yeah, we had a great situation, but but everything elevated just a little bit more because it was like, dude, this is stealing.
Kind of back into the how-to here. How can you elevate that? Look, I think you need to take in a checklist of things that you need to show every game. And I don't necessarily mean a play. I don't mean, this isn't like, oh, I don't want to show that on film, right? Like this big surprise, like a trick play. Carrying a 2-back look. Because if you don't get it on a list, a checklist of things you have to get on film, you'll forget to run them. And then if you don't use them, the kids don't understand their use because, coach, we practice this and never run. It's just the checklist helps a ton. 2-back formations, unbalanced formations, empty formations, full house. whatever your things are that are allowing you to get space, leverage, or numbers as an advantage, creating, you have to show it, but you need to put it on a checklist. Have I shown this yet? And not necessarily for the next guy to have to plan, which is a huge part of it, because as the next guy's defense has to plan for more crap, he gets less good at his base stuff, and all of your stuff begins to work a little better. But more so that your kids can see it ran and your kids can understand the why. And it doesn't just become a thing you're practicing and they're like, well, we practice that all the time. We never run it. Why would I care? Right? You've got to give them the why and you got to give them, we believe in this stuff. The last one here, we're kind of running close on time, so we'll close it out after this. But a big one we focused on the last couple of years, and this is not etched in stone, but almost. We've pre-printed the stone ready for etching. If you don't practice it, don't run it.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than going, oh, well, my kids know all these tags. I'll just throw this random 5 tags together on this one base play and go out and run this thing that we've never seen. Because we talk about all the time, if you change kid a position, he goes from left guard to right guard. That is a position change to that kid. He is learning a whole new offense for no reason at all. Center to guard, same thing. It's like, dude, you do a lot of the same stuff. Like your pull's on a different play. You're basically down blocking all the time. You count zone and double team the same. Pass pro is almost the same. It's not that big to us, but to them it is. This is the same deal. If they have heard these words called together before and they've crawl, walk, run it in practice that week, they've ran it in their indie time. They've ran it in their group time. They ran it in team. They can go out and run it sharp. They will execute. If you think that you're going to go out there and just, okay, we're going to hang our hat on just randomly throwing together tags, you're going to be severely disappointed, and your kids are not going to be crisp because they're all going to be thinking about how does my piece of the puzzle fit? Instead of worrying about a base play with a couple extra words, they're worried about, we've not done this before. Is the timing going to be right? There's a lot going on there. So yes, you can in places do it. You can, we've got to have it here. I'm going to run this. We've never done it before. We're going to do it one time, but you cannot get where you're hanging your hat on that because that's the same as just calling plays to let it see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's tags. So the thing that I do hear a lot of coaches talk about is like, I'm going to tag this, or like, how would I use motions in the game or something like that? And it's like, no. Tags are plays, motions and shifts are formations. You don't install a formation in the middle of a game. You don't randomly put together formations. Sometimes we do, but like there's a reason, but you don't randomly install a play. So you don't randomly throw a tag on there. It's again, other than rare situations, the formation, which can be motion, can be shift, is on your call sheet and is packaged together for a reason, which means you've got multiple plays out of it. Because if they do this, you can run this. If they do that, you're going to run that. And it may just be 2, it may be 1, or maybe it's more than 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. It's usually not more than 3 or 4 at the most, if it's a really base formation. But yeah, that's just remember that tags are plays. For me, 60 and 60 up. It's like that's the funny one because 60 and 60 up is the same play, right? 60. All we're doing is tagging a go route because 60 is hitch seam, and we tag a go route and it becomes 4 verts. Well, nobody thinks that hitch and 4 verts are the same play,
right?
But they are. It's just a tag. Yeah. But then we'll look at other things and go, well, it's just a tag. It's like, no. It's not just a tag.
Yep. Love it. Sweet, man. I think we checked all the boxes. Real quick, guys, if you got a nugget from today's episode, don't keep it to yourself. Please send it over to someone in the game who'd appreciate it. Once again, a coach, a friend of a coach, a parent, an official. Share it out, please. That's how coaching circles get stronger, and that's what we're trying to do here is just build the strongest coaching circle. Today we talked about creating an adaptable offense, attacking weaknesses with your offensive play calling, developing an offensive playbook that works, and elevating your execution on game day. Last week, talked about not having a team identity and how you can get that established. Next week, we're going to talk about if you struggle to get pressure on the quarterback, all the fun things you can do to help your defense be more successful on getting pressure on quarterback. Last time here, Joe, let's pay the bills and get out of here.
Every football team's been stuck in a losing tradition. If you can't seem to break out of it, if nothing is working, you've tried to change the culture, you tried to change the scheme, it's time to break the losing cycle. I've got a brand new coaching manual called Breaking the Losing Cycle that reveals how underdog teams are turning their seasons around without needing more talent or a bigger roster. You're going to find out why teams stay stuck in that losing cycle, the secret ingredients to break out, and the quick fix solutions you can use right now to break the losing cycle. You got a long losing streak. You're ready to end it. This is what you need. You've been 1-9, 2-8 for years. It's time to break the losing cycle. Download the free manual now at joedanielfootball.com/breaking, BREAKING, joedanielfootball.com/breaking to break the cycle and put an end to your losing tradition now.
Awesome. Do you know which cells are opening and closing as this comes out?
None right now. We're
perfection.
Yep.
Hope everyone's having a wonderful season. Social media, I'm at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter/X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. Joe, where are you at, sir?
You can find me on X at Football Info, on everything else at Joe Daniel Football, Joe Daniel Football on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Joe Daniel Football channel. I think it's something like that. And yeah, that's it. Joe at joedanielfootball.com and obviously joedanielfootball.com. Check out JDFB Premium Coaching Systems. If you need to tighten up during the season, like Daniel talked about, get on that platinum. If you really want to jump in season, start sending in your film and game film analysis, platinum level only, and you can immediately make a huge impact by sending in this week's film, no matter where you're at, no matter what level you're at, no matter what you're on.
All right, coaches, we're done here. If it's your first time here, subscribe now so you're ready when we're out the next episode. If you've been listening for a while, drop a review and let other coaches know this is where we're doing some real football talk. We thank you for being a part of the Football Coaching Podcast. Remember, coach simple, play fast, win.